really used writing as my main modality for my healing. My entire healing process, that has been the biggest modality for me to heal, was my writing, because it's self-expression and it's like it just if more people would write out their thoughts, they would be in less caught up in their emotions because they would be letting out something within them. And it's very freeing to write. The void within you is large and gets larger and larger as you fill it up with things to do. Letting things unfold the way that they are supposed to is true spiritual growth. It is letting go of the compulsion to control and manipulate. And so the more that you feel like something is burning you out from the outside, it's because there's something inside of you that's also screaming to be seen.
It is coming from you. And the moment you realize your healing will begin and you will live a very different life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Stories and Stanza. Today, as our guest, we have Ellie Laliberté from Canada, Ontario, who has joined us to talk about her book, Letters from You to You. And on Stories and Stanza, we talk to writers about their journey, their craft, their challenges, and the message behind the book. So today I look forward to hearing from Ellie all about her writing journey and the book and her thinking behind this. Hi Ellie, welcome to Stories and Stanza.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy.
I look forward to hearing your ideas on this book. From what I have read so far, I'm really interested, and it is slightly different from the other author interviews that I generally do. And in Stories and Stanza, I have another section in the podcast which is called Fail With Me, and where I explore emotional intelligence, mindfulness from a range of speakers. So to me, today's episode is best of both worlds, so to speak. So we look forward to hearing all of that. So for our listeners, could you tell a little bit about how you got into creative writing, how you started about this book? And I know you mentioned that you were a songwriter before. So how that did that creativity flow into this book?
Sure. So yeah, my journey into writing was very natural because, and the thing is though, is I didn't know that I was going to become a writer. I think that I just had that natural because I was an artist. I was a singer. I still sing today, but I sing less. It's more my it's less my focus now. But yeah, when I was younger, I was a singer and I had a guitar. My dad was a guitarist, and so he taught me how to play guitar. And so I could accompany myself when I was singing. So I started to compose songs. I think I was like maybe 15. And when I started writing songs, well, then obviously my writing started there. And so it was mostly lyrics that I was writing at that point. But after a certain time, when I got a little bit more maturity and I got into spirituality in my 20s, I started to write more about what is going on with me and writing about just pondering on the meaning of life and why am I here and all of the good stuff with spirituality and mindfulness and philosophy and psychology. And so I was going so deep into that with like books. And every time I would read like a book, it would just go really easy for me to take notes and just start to just analyze myself like and self-reflect with writing. And so that's how I started my writing. And then it developed into wanting to just write a book. When I was 27, I decided I would write my first book. And that one was in French. It's not the same book that I just released, but it was a French book. It was similar though. And that was my first book, and it was like a dream. And I made it happen. And then after that, I didn't think that I was going to write another book. I continued to write, but I didn't think I was I had another book in me. And so it was really a surprise when I got like that clarity in a meditation actually that I would be writing a second book. And in the way as well that I was writing it, that was not in the form of letters. I didn't think that I was going to write a book instead of chapters, it's letters. So it's a unique kind of way. And I developed that style of writing, which is, I call it intuitive writing, because I really used writing as my main modality for my healing. My entire healing process, that has been the biggest modality for me to heal, was my writing, because it's self-expression and it's like, it's just so powerful. It's a really great therapy and everybody should write. I just, if more people would write out their thoughts, they would be in less caught up in their emotions because they would be letting out something within them. And it's very freeing to write. So yeah, that's how my writing started, and that's how it came up to that book. And then it was, yeah, it was quite of a beautiful experience to have just written the book the way that it's been written. And now we're up to it's out and people are reading it and giving me comments about it. So it's really cool.
Wonderful. And I really liked something you mentioned there, that uh, you didn't know if the book was supposed to happen, but then you had that inner calling and the book happened, which is like really true. And for example, I mean, I wanted to write a book for a very long time, but then I was so busy with life and work, and I didn't know when I will get that time and dedication to write it. And I have published two poetry collections, and they just happened that there was a moment then I just got down to writing, and I wrote most of it in sort of in a very short span, and then editing and publishing took their own course. So, yep, coming back to your book, I really love how it is not chapters but letters. And for our audience, could you just tell us a little bit more about the book, who the book is for, and what is the idea behind the book?
Sure. So the book is called Letters from You to You. So I have it right here. You'll see it. Oh, you see it on the right side. That's good. Letters from You to You. And the subtitle is Awaken Your Power Through Conversations with Your Higher Self. So it is intended for readers to read these letters as if it's their higher self that wrote the letters for them. So you're having a conversation with your higher self throughout all of the letters. So the intent is to get lost. And I've had readers that have told me that that's what they experience. So that's awesome because I really wanted that to happen. Where the reader is reading and at one point they forget that there's an author behind what is has been written because the way that I've received these letters was it's my higher self that actually was I channeled this and I know it because I wrote this in like within a month. So it wasn't planned. It wasn't like super, I wasn't picky about what I was writing. I just was writing and writing and writing. And to be honest with you, I would reread my letters sometimes and I was like, I can't believe I'm the one who just said this. And the way that I wrote the sentences, and I'm like, what the hell? This is not me. Like, I was shocked by my own writing, and I knew that it was because I had just let myself be in the present moment completely. And I just let this energy come through me and just write what I needed to write as a message for people to relate to as their essence, right? So yeah, this is the way that the book has been written. And it's powerful in a sense where it's all about rediscovering or remembering who you are to your deepest level and understanding who you're not because we've been conditioned from our childhood and then we forgot what it was to be connected to something higher. And so it can be very triggering to some people, but that's a good thing because then you're questioning who you are. And a lot of times, like, people are just going about their days and they're doing whatever they're doing, and they're on the go, and they don't question their lives. Like, they don't question that deeper part of themselves because they don't have that awareness because they're too busy with the mind, that they're too busy doing, that they don't know how to be. So it's like a way for you to just sit with yourself. Like, this book is not supposed to be read super quickly. Some people told me that they even take one letter at a time. And let's say they pick like letter number 4, and they're going to go through their entire day with that letter and self-reflect on that letter instead of reading it throughout, like, within 2 days. I've had people that told me that they read it in 2 days because they loved it and they didn't want to put it down, which is a good thing. But I really like it when people tell me, like, you know what, I'm taking my time with this book because I just want to really let it sink in. I want to understand what I'm reading and really understand about myself, because that's what it's supposed to be doing. So yeah, that's the way that it's impacting, I guess, people, and it's amazing. I didn't make that decision. It's not me that decided that's the way that I wanted people to receive it. It just came out that way, and so I just trusted.
I really like that. And as I was saying, emotional intelligence is something that I love to discuss in this podcast, and I have done that with many of my guests. And as you are saying, it's very true that the self awareness is such an integral part of our lives, but we are so running behind things and so busy with everything, we do not stop and think about that moment. So I am really keen to hear your ideas, but before we get to that, I ask this to all my writer guests that if they would like to read something from their book for our listeners, and anyone listening to this discussion, so you also get an idea about what this book is and how this can help you. So, Ellie, can I request you to read something from your book? It can be anything of your choice, of course.
Perfect. Actually, it's going to be something of your choice because I'm going to ask you if you want to choose any number between 1 and 21. And that's the way that I sometimes ask people to be curious about the book, because it's a fun way to explore this at the same time.
Wonderful. And I feel like going with 7.
7?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what 7 is in store for us. Number 7. Okay, so number 7 is called To Be or Not to Be. That is not a question. To do or to be, that is the question. So I'll start from the beginning and I won't read the entire letter, but I'll read a part of it. How all of the letters are very similar in that way. Well, hello again. How have you been? Have you even been, or have you done? Confusing, I know. Your inner being, me, does have a sense of humor. I sometimes need to show you how I'm not that serious. Actually, being is not very serious. Doing, on the other hand, can be very serious stuff. I have to do this, I have to do that. Action, work hard to gain hard. And how many other sayings does that ego of yours have to offer you to keep you burnt out? You have unfortunately never been able to let yourself and others be, because you have no idea how it feels to be present with me for more than a few seconds. There is always a distraction, and you cannot tolerate being still without doing anything. The void within you is large and gets larger and larger as you fill it up with things to do. You do so much but receive so little. Doing is not wrong, but it is an old way of living. The world is evolving and showing you that being on the go like we were saying. And never stopping is killing your body, which means it will eventually be killing you. I will still exist, but your actual reality will not. You may be taking this as pretty harsh or even mean. I warned you that I was raw and direct, that I am impersonal. Can you live a life of simply being and never doing? In your reality, it is not very practical, but you can find a beautiful balance with me. Doing from a place of alignment is effortless and easy. It does not feel like doing. It feels like everything is being done for you. You are present in the doing, and so it becomes so powerful for the object of the task in front of you. It is beautiful when you come to a place where you realize you do not know what you're doing. That is me again, bringing you to that place so that you can be okay with not knowing what to do, because there's nothing that you need to do. Letting things unfold the way that they are supposed to is true spiritual growth. It is letting go of the compulsion to control and manipulate. Your ego wants to have its hands in everything and in everyone's business because it is wanting power. And that power leads to people who are so disconnected from me, who put bombs in the world. They are doing all right. They are far from being. I will do this so that this never happens to me again. I will show them. They believe that they are protecting themselves, their culture, or their reputation, but their doing is destroying lives and worsening their situation. They're addicted to doing to avoid living with themselves and their mental illness. They never stop to just be and listen. It's sad. They have a very long way to go to get back to me. If every human being could start to be more instead of do more, there would not be no need to do so much to stop people who hurt other people. When you do something to fix someone's wrongdoing without first connecting to me, you are simply using the same disconnected power from the ego to override their doing. It is a never ending cycle, and that is why there is endless war in the world. You can't fix violence with more violence. That is the doer. The being steps back for a moment and lets me guide him to the right path, to create harmony, not to win. Being does not mean to just wait and die. It means to create space. Within that space, energy can move, it can be released, it can be alchemized into a force that cannot be denied. All the dense energies in your body can be alchemized when you sit with them and don't touch them, when you don't try to repress them more in your body. If you don't do anything, they will naturally come up by themselves and get out of your body, creating space for wonderful energies to come and nourish every part of you. I will always guide you to do when the doing is important and meaningful to your soul. Otherwise, you will do things with too much effort, and that is why nothing will be sustainable. There's a little bit that's left, but I finish off with I love you, your inner being.
That is beautiful. And when I was listening, I realized that what you are saying about these letters are from a higher self to you. So there was a beautiful narrative, and I was thinking that it can speak to anyone.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's not you, the writer, writing
No,
it. It is
exactly.
it is it is my higher self or future self maybe talking to me about it. And
Exactly.
interestingly, a lot of people, after I've started this podcast, of course, they listen to these discussions and they come back. People I know in person that I we love what you're doing, and we face so much burnout, and we get stuck in our cycles.
Yeah.
And how interesting is they ask me these questions and say, how do we get out of it? How do we step out of it? And a podcast is it's a long discussion, but how do you summarize that and can you simplify that for us, etc. And I was reading your words and I was thinking that this is such a perfect tool for anyone to listen to if they wanted. I mean, this should be an audio book as well.
There is one. There
Yeah,
is one.
there is.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So, yeah,
Yeah.
listeners, there you go. If you want this as an audiobook format, it's already
Yeah.
there.
On
Uh,
Audible.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will put the book link and the audiobook link both in the episode description for anyone who is interested. And I'm deeply touched by the little bit that I heard of today. And
It was a little bit more of a triggering one. I feel that one. It's funny that you chose that one because we did talk about how it can be triggering, and I feel that letter is a little bit more triggering for a lot of people because it's a little bit too, like a lot direct, I would say. It's like I perceived it when I did reread it at one point, but I'm like, that's okay. That's what people need to understand about themselves. Like they're when they're just like we're talking about this, like people when
yes,
they are burned out, it's because they don't understand that they need a break. They need to just realize how to be instead of doing so much. And it takes a long time that we understand that. So we do need sometimes like nudges and a little bit more tough love so that we get to the point where we can
yes. And
get the choice.
people take breaks, but that do not replenish their energy, so to speak. Like maybe they get that physical energy, but how this this letter speaks about what you have, what is troubling you, it's not outside, it's inwards.
Mhm.
So I'm saying that you probably can take a break and you can rest up and you can let your body feel. But if you do not get that inner work done, then you are repeating the same cycle. And then you are going on with your life. You're doing the exactly same thing
Yeah.
afterwards. And
Mhm.
all the answers are inside you.
Yeah, exactly. And
So,
the more that you ignore them, the more the outer world gets louder in a way, because you're not really listening. It's not the outer world that is bothering you. It's what's going on inside of you that reacts to the outer world, right? That is screaming. And so the more that you feel like something is burning you out from the outside, is because there's something inside of you that's also screaming to be seen. And that's what we don't understand usually.
exactly. And people come and ask me these questions very often, and I say that it is starting with you, it is coming from you. And the moment you realize your healing will begin and you will live a very different life. Thank you for sharing that particular chapter. I think it not only speaks to me, but to many people who may be struggling in their day to day and they're always in that coping cycle as opposed to the
Yeah.
healing cycle. I
Yeah.
did one of the episodes long back on this podcast about coping versus healing, and it's one of my favorite discussions so far on the show because it's
Mm.
such an important yet very simple one. And so it reminded me all of that, and it's so beautifully written and so simple as well that there is it's very easy for anyone to follow it and relate to it and let those words sink in.
Yeah.
And let's get to a little bit more behind the ideas, what got you to writing this book. So you said that you wrote this in a very short span of time and you had that spiritual awakening or inner awakening that made you write this. And usually on the show, when we speak to writers, we try to understand their craft from a discipline point of view as to how you write, where is your
Yeah.
motivation, what is your daily writing kind of a thing. So, how would you like to say that your writing process is?
My writing process, I have to be very inspired to write. If I'm not inspired to write, I will not, because it's very intuitive, I need to be in a space where I feel like I need to write almost. It's like an urge. I'm like, okay, whoa, I got something now. I know I can feel it. I'm gonna go on my computer and I'm gonna put something out. What happened when I wrote this book was I was at a place in my life where I actually was like an empty vessel. Like I couldn't be more empty back then than a lot of the times in my life because I had just gone through a transition of like I was in a surrendering mode where I really didn't know where I was going to go with my life. I had just let go of a business that I had for the last 7 years that was not working for me anymore. So I was like going through a lot of, yeah, I needed to know what I was going to do, and there was no answers. And so the only thing I had left to do was surrender to the unknown again, because there are levels of that. And that was another level that was even more profound. And so when I sat down to write, like, that's just it. It was very spontaneous. It was coming from a place where I wasn't constricted with time because I had a lot of time because I was in between work in a sense. And so that's all I had to do in a way. So I could really focus at meditating before my writing and just letting everything come in and then just go and write for 2 hours straight. And it was really nice because it's not a process for me when I write this way, and especially in this style with like letters that are coming from my inner being. I don't overthink anything. Sometimes what's going to happen with writers, and because I'm working with writers now, I'm also a book coach today, is that they overthink what they're going to be saying, what they want to express, because they have like the writer's block where they might be afraid of, oh my God, I can't say it that way. And what happens if I say that? Oh, that might be too long, or that's more exaggerated, or maybe people are not going to, they get in the way because they're mostly writing about something that is personal, and so they're getting in the way of the way that they want to express this because it's their personal self that is writing it, right? So for me, because it wasn't my personal self that was writing it, and it was basically my higher self, I couldn't get in the way. Like I had to let it just flow the way that it flowed. And then I didn't even want to question it because it was so just so empowering for myself just to reread myself. I was like, I am just letting it be the way that it is because it's great the way that it is. I don't need to play with it. So my writing process has obviously changed within the years because I now know that it's more of an intuitive writing that I do more than personal. It's really rare that I'm going to be speaking about a lot of things that are personal. Like I might go, let's say, and do a post on Facebook, and I'm just going to ponder about like maybe a situation that had happened in my life recently, and then I will bring an awareness to it. But the awareness again to it is coming from my higher self. So it's not like I'm trying to, I work so hard at like thinking about a way that I'm going to be writing the thing that I want to think that I want to write. Sorry. It is very, again, it's intuitive. And then I just let myself just receive what I'm receiving, and my words, they just come out. So that's been my writing process. And I feel like it's still like that today. I am a ghostwriter as well. And I have to say that for me is so different because when you're writing something for someone, it is completely different. And so I don't have the same inspiration as per se, because it's not what I want to write in a way. But I still have to use my brain and my skills, my writing skills, to be organized. So that's another part of my writing, I would say, where I do believe like I'm super organized and structured when I'm writing. So let's say I'm writing these letters, they're going to be very well identified. Like I don't need to follow an outline or whatever. It just comes naturally. I know where to place things. I know how it's going to all unfold. And because I'm spontaneous, it unfolds naturally. It's not something that I really have to think about. I'm lucky in that sense, but it's kind of the way that they come out. That's why I don't have to think about it so much, I guess. But yeah, that's a writing process.
And you seem to be extremely focused when it comes to your higher self, and then you don't
Yeah,
have this distractions or second guessing your writing, which is very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And we discussed a lot about sort of examples of mindfulness, and this is something I'm very curious about. Is you what are the challenges a writer faced in their journey or in big in the part of writing this book, but you seem to go with such a free flow and such an uninterrupted sort of writing process that is really amazing.
Yeah. I don't write if I'm not inspired. I have to be connected, because then
That
I don't even know what to write, to be honest with you. It needs to come from within. Like it needs to be an urge. And when I feel that urge, I mean, if I ignore that urge and I do something else, forget about it. I'm not going to have the same inspiration 2 hours later because I decided to do something else. So that's my focus. When I feel the urge, I got to listen to myself and I got to go right, because then I know it's not going to be authentic and I'm going to be forcing something, and I don't want to force anything. I want it to, for it to flow. So yeah.
and in your book it is a lot about self-awareness,
Mhm.
and I like the way the little bit that I listened, but in a way when for that few minutes I had your voice in my mind. And I'm curious to hear your ideas about self awareness and what made that happen. Is that something you can share with our audience today?
So my ideas about self-awareness.
Yes, and what eventually transpired into this book, because self awareness is such an
Yeah,
important pillar of emotional intelligence, and I've talked
absolutely.
in so
Sure.
many episodes, and I want to hear your ideas because a lot of people struggle to understand who they are. And
Yeah.
because we also picked a chapter and look at the chance that it would happen, right? It's that
Yeah.
we picked such an important chapter
Yeah.
for today's common people. So I am curious to hear your thoughts on self-awareness and how can we build them, especially because we
Yeah,
picked that particular letter from your book.
for sure. Well, actually, the entire book is all about self-awareness for sure. And all of my topics, it all goes with self-awareness, because it's all about understanding who you are through different concepts. And it's all general. I mean, I have, I talk about like the art of detachment. So learning how to detach from things that are from the ego, that is always identifying itself with everything and making it its story. So we need to learn how to let go of that attachment, and attachment to people, and attachment to, you name it, everything that is outside of you, because it gets to overconsume us. And that's why we suffer so much. And so there's a couple of, well, all of them really in that book. There's many topics of self-awareness, because it's all about getting to know who you are at the deeper level, without whatever is going outside of you in your reality. For me, when it came to understanding what self-awareness really is. I was really young when I started down this journey of self-awareness. I had an awakening when I was 21 where my one of my friends committed suicide, and that was like the trigger that made it so that I would be curious about going deep into spirituality, philosophy, psychology, and getting to know who I was at a deeper level. And I thanked my friend in a way, like he gave me a really great gift, even though it was tragic and I was really sad because I didn't know where he was going and I didn't really understand why he did that and why he did. I actually learned a lot about death. And even death, people are still so taboo with that topic. And even suicide, people are so taboo with that topic too, where they feel like it's all very dense and negative. But there are other kind of like ways that you can look at your life, and especially in self-awareness. When you start to have self-awareness, you are beginning to see life in a completely different way. And throughout the years, like I've understood things about death that I was so scared of before, and now I see that it's only a transition. We don't really ever die. We're just transitioning. But then again, it's not everybody that wants to believe that. But when you know that you're a soul and that your body is just a meat suit, you know that you're always living, you're continuing to live. So death is just an illusion again, right? But yeah, so self-awareness brings you to really deep concepts at one point where you just know that what is making you be blinded is the fact that you want to attach yourself and identify yourself with things that are outside of you because you feel like that's going to make you feel safe somehow. But it's so much more than that. And even like I have to say today, I have a completely different opinion about suicide as well, because I understand that we are dying daily in a way. We're always trying to let something go, and that energy, like when you're in self-awareness, you just understand at one point that you have to dissolve. It's not so much about bringing in more things into more knowledge and more practices. It's about dissolving what you're not, and that dissolving is the healing. And it hurts. It hurts because it's your conditioning, and it's the lies that you understood from a very young age, and that you now have to, yeah, you have to know who you are without all of that conditioning, and that hurts. But it's part of evolving as a human being on this planet. And I think that right now what we can see in the world is like we're in a great need to dissolve a lot of the lies because they're all coming up to the surface right now for us to see it. But it's the same thing that's going on inside of you. So when people start to see that self-awareness is about whatever is going outside of you, if you're seeing chaos outside of you, it's because there's chaos inside of you too. And chances are, if you deal with the chaos that is inside of you, you will see less chaos outside of you. Even if there's chaos going on, your perception will change and it will not be as painful because you will have to understand what is actually triggering everything that is inside of you. What is triggering you? It's the outside world is a great teacher for us to see that we have to heal many things. So self-awareness is very vast, but it's everything. And I feel like when people can just realize that it's not just so much about spirituality and the woo-hoo kind of things. No, it's actually a very big necessity for the world to continue to expand and to have really great human beings in the world. People have to really understand now that it's not so much like it has stop labeling it as, oh my God, self-awareness is so spiritual. No, self-awareness is like it's your natural state. You have to find out who you are at your natural state so that you can stop suffering. That's it.
That is very beautifully explained. And we touched upon many things as a part of it. And I think we can go on and on about that. It is such a vast and
Yeah,
immense topic around us.
that's for sure.
Yes, and I remember I read this in a book, and it was a turning point for me to be reflective on that note. Is it was, I think, I don't remember the name of the book, but it explained some of the old Buddhist thinking in very simple terms. Okay, and it said that think about everything as an experiment, how you would do an experiment, that you would observe and you will take a note, but you will not engage in it. So, whatever is
Mm,
happening around you, see that as an experiment and take a note of it, and you will slowly see the change in you. And I actually started doing that, and it was really beautiful. And I was in a state I used to get very triggered or very angry often. And then when I understood what my anger truly was, I was not
mm,
angry anymore. Then I realized the
exactly.
anger is not something outside, anger is something inside. And
Mm,
if there is a confusion, say I have resolved something, but I'm still angry, that means there is something to be resolved at a layer deeper down.
another layer. It's just
It
another layer.
it's just another layer. It's like an onion that
Mm,
you need to keep peeling off until you finally realize that who you are, and then you are at
mm,
peace. You cannot be troubled, you cannot be bullied, you cannot be
no, exactly.
sabotaged and anything
Yeah, yeah,
on
for
that.
sure. It's all layers, and it never ends too. So people think, okay, I'm going to do this healing journey, and I'm going to be fixed in about 3 years or something. No, you're always going to be healing something because you're always going to be revealing something
Yes,
that you couldn't see at one point because there's levels of readiness to your awareness as well.
yes,
You have to develop this, I would say, this spiritual maturity to be able to understand like the deeper knowings of your being. And you'll see eventually that it's really just a game of dissolving. It's really dissolving and dissolving until you understand that you cannot be bothered by life if you understand who you are to the deepest level, because who you are at the deepest level is peace. And so we're talking about self-awareness, but what you're actually talking about, I call it also witness consciousness. So yeah, it's like you're seeing whatever's happening as an experiment, but you don't have to attach yourself to it.
yes,
You can just look at it. You
yes,
observe it. And so that's what witness consciousness is, like you're stepping back, getting out of your ego and the personal self, and you're looking at what is happening in front of you, and you deliberately make that choice to not get attached and put a meaning onto it as if it's something that is happening to you. It's actually happening. That's it. It's just happening. And the more that we neutralize these events in our lives, the more that we take our lives less seriously. And then we can breathe and we can just be at peace with our lives and not make anything have to be a certain way for us to be happy, because that's the kind of trick of the ego. Is it's asking us to find people and things to make us be more satisfied. But the things and the people that are in front of you, they just are what they are. And it has nothing to do with you. You can love someone and you can love a thing, but if you're over consumed with that person or that thing, then you're losing this the sense of who you are through these things, which is that's not love. So it's again just taking a look at, hey, this is just happening and I can enjoy this and I can be in peace with this without having to hold on to it and grab it and not letting go because it's I'm identifying myself with it. But it's can be very complicated, but once you go into witness consciousness, you see how simple everything is so much. It is so simple. It's crazy. I love to talk about witness consciousness. So
Indeed, yes. I think we have come towards the end of our episode today. I have just one question that I'm very curious to hear from you on, because we are talking about emotional intelligence, self awareness, and mindfulness. And I have my own version of it as well. So it was not very easy to form that understanding, because I was told that meditation or mindfulness is about controlling your thoughts, and you have to focus on one thing and not about anything else. And as I grew up, I realized that's not possible. Like, you cannot silence your mind from everything at any one moment. And now, if anyone asks me about how do you practice mindfulness, I say that be grounded and ask yourself this question: are you safe or are you secure? And then once you realize that you are safe, anything that is negative, anything that is troubling you will pass through. It will not
Yes.
cling on to you. And I want to hear
Mhm.
from you as to what your ideas on practicing mindfulness is. Because the kind of questions I get is, oh, we have such little time. How do I practice mindfulness? Oh, I do not have hours and hours every day to practice mindfulness. So, is there anything you would like to share? Because we talked about a lot of similar things in our discussion today.
Yes, for sure. Well, yeah, again, I mean, practicing mindfulness is practicing being present as much as you can, but it's also, like I said, practicing witnessing the mind. So that's also mindfulness and having a practice. I do a lot of meditation for sure. I've also learned to it is possible. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of focus. It is possible to come to a point where you're not thinking about anything, but it's very difficult. The thing that people get wrong is that they think that they do have to do that, because if they don't do that, then they're not doing their meditation the right way. But that's not true. What you're wanting to do in meditation, for this is my opinion, of course you're going to have a lot of thoughts that are going to come by, but the thing that you have to do, again, it's all about witness consciousness. You're sitting down, you're seeing these thoughts, but you're not grabbing onto them. They're like clouds just passing by. You're the blue sky and these are the clouds. Like, the blue sky is not in it doesn't need these clouds, but when they're there, they just go and they fade away, and that's fine. That's okay. So it's not trying to make a story about the thoughts that are doing. So that's the focus. It's not so much about eliminating the thoughts. It's about just looking at them and not making them anything, because they're going to come for sure. And if you can do that, you're already winning, because that's what mindfulness is. And it's the same thing when you're out of meditation and into the world, because your meditation is not necessarily to stay in meditation and be like a monk and just meditate for like hours and hours. So when someone tells me that they're too busy to meditate, I'm like, but your lifestyle is not about the meditation. The meditation is for you to just be aware that this is what's going on, so that in your life, you can start practicing presence. And that's the entire meditation is actually your life. It's not when you're sitting down so much. The sitting down is to have the awareness, have the insights, and then you go about your day and you try to practice that meditation throughout your entire day by just, whoops, something is coming up and you're reacting to it. All right, well, then be present, understand why you're reacting to that thing, and then just, yeah, let it just be what it is. Feel your emotions. I'm not going to say people do not feel their emotions and bypass, because that's not better, but it's just about observing again. And if you do have to feel your emotion, feel it, embrace it, letting go, and then go back to observing. And it's just the more that you do it, the more that it's going to be natural for you, and you are winning. By having that awareness, you are winning big time. So yeah, I would say that's how I practice. And yeah, I do sit down though in meditation, and I've practiced silent meditation, which is even even harder, but it's very good because again, it makes me practice. It makes me practice looking at all of what's going on and being okay with the silence and being okay with the little things that are going on while I'm trying to be silent and not get bothered by these things. Because if I'm getting bothered when I'm in silence by, let's say, the fridge that is going on, and then it's, oh no, that's annoying. That sound is annoying. Let's say I start doing that. Well, can you imagine in the world? That's what we do all the time with everything that is in front of us. Cars that pass by, someone who sneezes somewhere, or someone who coughs, someone who says something, like it just never stops. So in your meditation, if you can focus on the small things that are bothering you while you're sitting down, then you're going to be you're going to become a master in the outside world, and other bigger things are going to show up. So yeah.
That was such a wholesome answer to what I was asking for, and anyone listening, I'm sure it speaks to you as well. We are towards the end of our discussion today, and I request you to take a look at Ellie's book, and we'll put all the links in the episode description. Ellie, is there anything else you would like to say to our audience today?
I think that the only thing I'd like for people to know is that it's not so complicated to start this journey of healing. It's not scary. And I think that if you are just curious as to understand what is going on in your mind and wanting to just be gentle with yourself, there's really great resources out there and free resources out there as well, everywhere on the internet that can help you. And you just have to quiet the noise to listen to what you need, and just start somewhere, anywhere, and then just gradually be gentle with yourself, embrace your feelings, don't get caught up too much in the victim consciousness, which is mostly what people are doing, unfortunately. But yeah, just know that there is so many people out there actually right now that are wanting to help and guide people to that journey to be safe. Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today and talk about your book and such important things in today's lifestyle. Wish you best of luck for your future endeavor, and thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.